Imagine a place where doctors took an oath to save lives, yet used their skills to destroy them in the most unimaginable ways. A place where men, women, and even children were treated not as human beings, but as logs, objects for experiments. This was not a medieval torture chamber. It was not a story from a horror movie. It was real. It was modern. And it was called Unit 731. Today, we're diving into the chilling history of Unit 731, Japan's secret biological and chemical warfare program during World War II. A story hidden for decades, shrouded in denial, but one that reveals the darkest side of human cruelty and the shocking bargains made after the war to bury the truth. To understand Unit 731, we need to go back to the 1930s. Japan was expanding aggressively in Asia, particularly into China. In 1931, Japan invaded Manchuria in northeastern China and quickly set up a puppet state called Manchukuo. It was here, in Harbin, that the seeds of Unit 731 were planted. The mastermind was Shiro Ishii, a brilliant but ruthless doctor and microbiologist. Ishii believed biological warfare, the use of deadly germs as weapons, could be Japan's secret advantage. He convinced the Japanese High Command to let him create a special unit, hidden behind the innocent name, Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. In reality, it was the deadliest science lab on Earth. By the late 1930s, Ishii had his wish, a massive compound in Pingfang, near Harbin. It was as large as a small town covering 150 buildings, guarded heavily, surrounded by secrecy. This was Unit 731. The Japanese military didn't call their human subjects prisoners or patients. They called them Maruda logs, as if they were not people, but just fuel for experiments. Who were these people? Chinese civilians accused of helping resistance fighters. Prisoners of war from Russia, Mongolia, and Korea. And in some cases, ordinary men, women, and even children pulled from the streets. Estimates vary, but historians believe thousands of people were killed inside Unit 731's walls. The word experiment sounds almost scientific neutral, but what happened inside Unit 731 was not science. It was torture disguised as research. Let's break down some of the horrors. 1. Vivisection without anesthesia. Victims were dissected alive, without painkillers, because Ishii insisted anesthesia might interfere with the results. Doctors cut people open to see how diseases spread inside a living body. 2. Frostbite tests. Manchuria was cold, and Japanese soldiers suffered frostbite. To study it, Unit 731 prisoners were taken outside in freezing weather. Their arms or legs were exposed until the skin froze solid. Then boiling water was poured over the frozen limb, or the limb was beaten with sticks to test how the body reacted. 3. Biological warfare tests. Unit 731 developed bombs filled with plague-infected fleas. Prisoners were deliberately infected with cholera, anthrax, typhoid, and plague, just to see how long it would take them to die. Entire Chinese villages were targeted with germ warfare, causing outbreaks that killed tens of thousands. 4. Weapon testing. Grenades, flamethrowers, and chemical weapons were tested directly on living prisoners tied to stakes. The Japanese army wanted to measure the blast radius, the burning power, the spread of poison gas on real human flesh. 5. Other cruelties. Prisoners were starved to death. They were injected with animal blood to see what would happen. Women were forced into sexual assaults that spread sexually transmitted diseases again in the name of research. How many died? We will never know for sure, because the Japanese military destroyed much of the evidence before surrendering in 1945. But historians estimate that at least 3,000 people died inside Unit 731's walls. That number doesn't include the 200,000 or more, Chinese civilians killed by Japan's germ warfare campaigns across Asia. In cities like Ningbo, plague bombs dropped from planes caused deadly epidemics. Unit 731 was not just a lab. It was a weapon of mass destruction. In August 1945, Japan surrendered after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Unit 731 was ordered to erase all traces. Buildings were blown up, prisoners were executed, and researchers scattered. You might expect that after the war, people like Shiro Ishii would face justice at the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal, just as Nazi doctors did at Nuremberg. But here's the shocking truth. Most of them walked free. Why? Because the United States made a deal. The American military was fascinated by the data Ishii had collected data on biological warfare that no one else in the world possessed. Instead of prosecuting Ishii and his team, the U.S. secretly gave them immunity in exchange for their research. Shiro Ishii lived freely after the war, reportedly even advising U.S. military projects during the Cold War. He died in 1959, never punished for his crimes. For decades, Unit 731 was almost unknown outside Asia. Japan's government denied or downplayed the atrocities. Survivors in China spoke out, but were often ignored. It wasn't until the 1980s and 1990s that more evidence surfaced, when former soldiers began confessing. Documents, survivor testimonies, and excavations in Harbin revealed the truth. Still, Japan has never fully acknowledged Unit 731 at the level Germany acknowledged Nazi crimes. This remains a painful wound in East Asia, especially in China. Unit 731 is one of history's darkest chapters, a place where doctors became killers, and where war twisted science into cruelty. But remembering it is not about horror for horror's sake. It's about confronting the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. It's about honoring the victims who had no voice. And it's about reminding ourselves that knowledge without ethics can lead humanity to its most terrifying depths. History may try to bury Unit 731, but the voices of its victims demand that we never forget.
Nani